It is for people in punk rock bands or other types of bands that instead of having to go through having an agent and having an agent find them shows and having them set up the shows and the agent gets a cut of the money and et cetera, it just gives them the direct information to the owners of the clubs so that they can call up and book their own shows. And this comes out every year. It did come out every year for a long time, and it was the guidebook for people that were in bands that wanted to sort of take control of the music industry on their own terms. And so that was my inspiration for this, which will allow you to take control of the Florida Legislature under your own terms. So, taking responsibility and initiative in directing your public servants is the subtitle. And let's make no mistakes about it. These are your public servants. Servant is the key word here. These are not your leaders as much as they would love it if you used that phrase. These are your servants. They serve at the pleasure of the electorate. They are there to do your bidding, and if they do not do your bidding, then their job is up for review every couple of years. And so it is within your rights as a citizen to sit them down and have a little talk with them about their job performance. And, you know, if need be, hint to them that, well, maybe if they're not doing such a great job, you might have to take a look at somebody else for the position.
I think it doesn't, that part doesn't work.
This part doesn't work. The whole thing is now ruined.
Do you want me to?
Is it on?
I don't know if it's on.
It might need to be on.
So your public servants, they're elected officials and they're appointed officials. The elected officials are elected every couple of years by the democratic process. We're going to be talking about our state elected officials. That would be our state legislators, the state House of Representatives, and the state senators. The state House of Representatives currently in our district is, where we live, is Michelle Ray Winkle Vasalinda. And the district next door, it is Alan Williams. My wife, Kim, sitting over there, and I are on good speaking terms with Alan Williams and Michelle Ray Winkle Vasalinda. You should all be on good speaking terms with your state representatives.
Can you say her?
Appointed officials are going to be various people that they appoint to things. We're not going to be dealing much with them for these purposes. Or anything else. There we go. Here is a simplified chart as published by the Florida Senate for how an idea becomes a law. This is the simplified chart. And to go through it very briefly, a legislature or a citizen or a group suggests legislation. A senator decides to introduce the bill. A bill drafting service writes the bill or reviews it for style. The bill is filed with the secretary. It's numbered. It's printed. The first reading is going to be in a journal, and the president of the Senate will refer it to a committee. Committee hearings will respond either favorably with amendments, or favorably with committee substitute. They may change a few things in it. Or unfavorably, in which case it's killed. Once that's happened, unless it's number 4, it goes up to the calendar. In the calendar, they will, schedule it. Then it goes down to chamber. Chamber gives it a third reading. Bill's read for a third time. It's debuted. It's going to be a roll call vote on passage. or if they're going to amend it. If it's passed, it's delivered to the House clerk. House clerk's going to read it for the first time to the Speaker. I could go on for about 3 hours with the rest of this. You can insert yourself at many different places. Look in your, you'll be able to go to the 3rd floor of the Senate or House building and get the schedule of where each bill is, where it is in committee, where it is in, when it's going to be voted on. Go in there, find out where it is, find out when public hearings are going to be on it, get in on those public hearings, and put your input in there. Relationship building, this is just a quick overview of the different sections of this. Relationship building. If this is the first time you have ever visited your legislature, you want to be sure and tell her that this is your first time, and that this issue is so important to you that you had to go all the way to the top. You want to introduce yourself, you want to give her a little bit of your story. Not too much of your story, a little bit of your story. You've probably got 3 minutes with your legislator when you go to meet with your legislator, if you're lucky enough to meet with your actual legislator. Most of the time you're going to meet with their aide if you meet with anybody. That's great. If you get a chance to meet with their aide, meet with their aide. Don't turn down a meeting with their aide. Their aide knows what's going on. Their aide probably writes most of the legislation. Their aide knows the schedule. Their aide is essentially the legislature except in name. So, being on friendly terms with the aide is the best thing that you can do. Don't poo-poo the aide. Stick with the aide. Get to know the aide. The aide is your friend. And as I mentioned before, it's not enough that you know your legislator's name. I mean, who here can name their state senator? Raise your hand. Montford. Anyone else Montford?
Yeah.
Montford.
Yeah.
Woo! All right. Know their name. Look them up. Find out about them. Find out what their partisan affiliation is. Find out what they voted for in the past. If you're going to go through and push your agenda, you want to know how it is you're going to spin it to them. If your agenda is, say, environmental, and you're going in to talk to, say, a Republican, Republicans aren't going to automatically dismiss something that's environmental, but you got to spin it to them right. Republicans, you've got to say, this is a pro-business bill. And if you spin it as pro-business, if you say, well, this bill is going to create jobs, this bill is going to cut spending in other departments, they'll listen to that. If you go in and say, this is going to save the spotted owl, they're not going to listen to that. So, know your legislator, know what they stand for, and make sure they know you. Make sure they know your name. You want them, when they see on their schedule that you're coming in, you want them to go, oh, it's them. I better do my homework on this first and read through and find out what they're going to talk to me about, because I know they did their homework on this. They are your public servants, but like with any other employee, if you've got employees, if you've got people working for you, treat them with respect. They work for you. You know, you want to treat your employees with respect. You don't want to talk down to them as much as they might richly deserve it. And even if they cannot work with you on this issue, there will be other issues. We are playing the long game here. We're not just going in with one issue. We are lobbying our life. We are exercising our citizenship within the legislature. And what that means is building relationships with these people, getting to know them, getting to know what they're about, getting them to know what we're about, we're their constituents, they're our employees. We're going to be in there all the time, in their face, saying not just, well, we're in here for this environmental concern, or we're in here for this other concern, but we're in here for a lot of stuff. We're in here every couple of weeks while you're in session, and we've got these things we want you to do. So they want your support. They want you to vote for them. They want you to support the bills that they've got coming up. They want you to call the other legislators and say, hey, we want you to co-sponsor this bill that we've got going. They want your support. They want to be reelected. And y'all have the strength to mobilize other voters. Y'all have the strength to get other people to vote. They want to be reelected. If you can go in there with enough juice to say, whether out loud or imply, I've got 500 people in my group that are interested in this bill, and we would really like to see this happen. You know, you want to use that power. You want to use that juice. And then there's coalition building. This is where you get your big group. Find like-minded groups out there that are going to meet the same goal. I'll use environmentalism as my sort of default topic because I consider myself to be somewhat of an environmentalist, so it's easy to default to. Not everyone in here necessarily considers themselves one. You can feel free to mentally substitute pro-gun control or anti-gun control or whatever it is that happens to be your main issue for environmentalism. But find like-minded groups out there to meet the same goal. So there are a lot of environmentalist groups out there. There's your Sierra Club, there's your Audubon Society, there's your Southern Alliance for Clean Energy, there's Rethink Energy Florida, there's all kinds of groups that are out there. Get affiliated with them, get to know them, infiltrate those groups, work with them. You're one person, but you can use the strength in numbers of these other groups, and you can get more bang for your buck out of your vote by being a member of these groups and joining these groups, and they will help you to bring in those other votes. So don't reinvent the wheel. You know, if there's 5 groups that you know of that are working to get Senate Bill 153 to put solar panels out on the Capitol, and that's your issue, then join up with the people that are working on Senate Bill 153. And don't let your ego get in the way of achieving your goal. You don't have to be the one that got Senate Bill 153 passed. It might feel good, it might be an awesome thing to say, I got Senate Bill 153 passed. If it wasn't for me, we wouldn't have solar panels on the Capitol dome. But, you know, the legislature isn't there to feed your ego. It's there to run the government. And if you can get them, if you can use it to achieve your goals, that's what counts. You can feel good about yourself, but don't let your ego get in the way of achieving your goal. If an alliance still does not work for you, if it's detrimental to the cause, some groups are very dysfunctional. Some groups have been around for a long time. They have a lot of power, they have a lot of ego, and they don't get much done. Drop them. Don't work with them. You know, if you find them not helping you out, if you find that you're not achieving your goal with them, get rid of them. Don't work with them. You don't have to. And lastly, this might not be a popular phrase, but beware the activist. beware the activists. Anyone in here consider themselves an activist? I at various times certainly have considered myself an activist. I worked on a couple of presidential campaigns, both of them, luckily enough, we won. We had a little joke about activists. Activists are the ones that walk around with signs and don't get anyone to vote. So that might not necessarily be true. Activists get a lot of work done, but beware making activist the identity. Getting the work done is the important thing. The identity of activist doesn't get much done. So if you are making this an identity thing, I'm an environmentalist, but you're not actually achieving your environmental goals, then you're not much of an environmentalist. So beware identity politics, beware being the activist. Be the worker, be the organizer, be the one who gets it done. A little animation here for your enjoyment. Strength in numbers. Affiliating yourself with longer-lived, better-known organizations helps to legitimize your cause. So when you have these other organizations that you want to affiliate with, go with the ones that are really well known whenever possible. Go with the ones that are really effective whenever possible. Don't necessarily jump on the bandwagon with other groups unless you really know that they're effective and they're going to help you achieve your goals. Learning from other successful organizations will help your own organization. And many older and more experienced organizations are that way for a reason. They've learned from their mistakes. Don't reinvent the wheel. Just because you make your own mistakes doesn't mean you can't learn from others. Talk to the other leaders. And older organizations are looking for new blood. Once again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to be the leader of the movement. Your ego doesn't have to be a part of it. Being a useful worker to get the job done is the most important thing. And the more people you have to fight with you for your cause, the better. And make sure your entire team is focused and on message. Message discipline is a very important thing. In the environmental movement, there are people that think the most important thing in environmentalism is getting off fossil fuels. There are people within the environmental organization that feel the most important thing is stopping the clear cutting of forests. There are people that think the most important thing is stopping the drilling in the ocean. Find something and focus on it. If you're working with the legislature to get law implemented, then what you want to do is focus. They don't write broad laws that say this law is the law that will save the environment, HB number 157. They say this is the law that will put solar panels on the left side of the legislature, on the dome, on the east side, at 5:30 p.m. They write very focused laws. Don't work on broad things. Focus and delegate. Play to the strengths of your group. When you get your group together, group dynamics become very important. You've got a person that likes to talk. You've got a person that likes to write. You've got a person that likes to network. Use their strengths. Play to their strengths. The person that likes to talk, make them the spokesman. The person that likes to write, make them write down the stuff that the spokesman says. Your networker, make them the one out there that's making the connections with other people. Don't fall into the trap of having people who aren't very good at what they're doing do something because no one else will do it. Find out what they're good at and have them play to that strength. And then there's selecting leadership. Everybody's a leader. Potentially everybody is a leader. Leadership is finding purpose in the face of uncertainty. Finding purpose in the face of uncertainty. When everyone's running around like a chicken with their head cut off going, I don't know what we're going to do. Leadership, whether they're the one that was elected or whether they're the one that just steps up, leadership is the one that says, stop, here's what we need to do. We got to focus, we got to get this done, step A, step B, step C. They might be wrong, and that's fine. They work out where they're wrong, get it right, but leadership is the person that steps up and says, I'm going to be the leader here, is generally the worst leader. Not always, but generally the one that says, I know how to run things, I've run things before, I'm going to be the leader here. They're going to suck as a leader. The one that puts in all the hours, that puts in all the work, they're the one that actually ends up leading the group because they've done every job in the group. They know the nuts and bolts. They know what to do. Evaluation. What's been working, what hasn't been working. Accountability. Who is it that's been coming up with what's not been working? Let's have a little talk with them. Maybe they're not the leader. And flexibility. Once again, letting the people that know how to run things well, letting the people that have the ideas that work be in charge and running things, that can be a very helpful thing. A little more animation there. So then the process and planning part. What problems need to be addressed? Well, we want solar panels on the Capitol building. Setting goals and identifying targets. What will the solution look like? Well, we're going to have a solar panel on the left dome on the east side. Defining tasks and creating roles. What steps can be taken and who will do the work. That's the hard part. You got to find the person that's actually going to be talking about policy-wise how this is doable and get them involved with the legislator. You get your writer to write the policy, you get your talker to talk about the policy, you get it done. And then there's speaking to your legislator. This is the most important part. Well, it's all important. But there's protocols. There's etiquette. There's ways to talk to your legislatures so that they will listen. We want them to listen to us. We want them to treat us as equals. Ideally, we want them to treat us as the people they are serving. And the way to go about that is, this almost seems like a no-brainer, but I've done lobby days before, and people will show up at lobby days wearing a t-shirt that has a middle finger on it, and sneakers and jeans with holes in the knees, and they're like, well, I'm a constituent, they have to listen to me. And that's true, they do have to listen, but they don't have to listen very hard, and they don't have to listen very long, and they don't have to remember what they say. So, be on time. If you've got a meeting set up for 10:32 a.m. with a legislative aide, be there at 10:25 a.m., sitting there waiting. Dress sharp. Dress like the people at the Capitol dress. Wear your suit. Look like you're actually there as a legislator. Don't be wearing your t-shirt and your jeans with the holes in the knees. They'll respect it. They'll see it and they'll think this person's serious. Sign in. Every single legislator. You go up to their desk, there's a little sign-in book. Sign in. Write your name, your address, your email, phone number. If you don't sign in, you weren't there. If you don't sign in, they have no record that you were there. They think, I don't know, some kid came by and talked about solar panels on the dome. I don't remember who it was or why. So always sign in. Have your request in writing. Have your talking points in writing. Print these out. Have a bunch of copies. You want to give a copy of your request to the aide. If you actually speak to the legislator, you want to give a copy to the legislator. If you run in to the Speaker of the House or the Senate Majority Leader, you want to give a copy to them in the elevator. Have a bunch of copies of your request in writing and hand them out. Use your juice. If you are the treasurer of a student-run organization with 4 members that advocates for hemp legalization, when you're speaking to your legislator, say, well, I have a leadership role in a student-run organization on campus, and our organization has been on campus for 25 years now. Maybe don't mention the hemp. But use your juice. Be knowledgeable about your issue. Know it inside and out. Know how many kilowatt hours those solar cells that you're wanting to put on the Capitol are going to generate. Know how much it's going to cost to put it there. Know how much revenue is going to have to be raised for this to happen. And following that, when all that fails, follow up. If you don't know the answer and the legislator or aide says, how many kilowatt hours is this going to produce? Don't say, I don't know, but it's a lot. Probably 109. Don't say that. Don't fake it. Say, I'm sorry, I don't have that information in front of me right now. I am going to look that up the minute I leave here, and I will send that to your aide. My apologies for not having this with me right now. And then do that. Make specific requests. When you're talking to your legislators, make specific requests. Don't just say, well, we want you to do things that are going to be good for the environment because the environment's important because dolphins. Don't do that. Make specific requests. Say, we want to see by next year solar panels on the left-hand dome of the legislative building, and here is how we can make this happen. Make very specific requests. And then say, will you sponsor the bill that will make this happen? Very specific. No, I don't know if I can sponsor that. I can only sponsor 6 bills per session. And I've already got all 6 bills set up. Well, can you amend one of your bills to do this? Oh, I don't know about that. I've already got X number of amendments I'm allowed to do. Well, will you talk to one of your fellow legislators? I know that Sue Smith from Pinellas County might be in favor of this. Do your homework. I know that Joe Johnson from Hillsborough County might be in favor of this. Will you talk to those two and ask them if they would consider sponsoring these bills because your slate is full? I don't know. I don't really believe in this bill. Eventually they might get around to saying that. And then you thank them for their time, and you tell them you look forward to seeing them later on in the session, and your 3 minutes is up, and you tell them to have a nice day. But hopefully one of those things has succeeded. Hopefully one of those things they will do for you. But always do the ask, the specific ask. Always, if that ask fails, follow up with another ask. Keep following up with asks until you run out of options. Keep pushing your agenda. Now, this is a long game. None of you are going to walk into your legislator's office and say, I want solar panels on the east dome of the Capitol, and they're going to go, it's a done deal. We're going to have it for you next week. Here, let me just sign this. And then you're going to go out, and next week there's going to be solar panels up. It's a long game. Many bills remain stuck in the process for years. Stay on top of it. Stay on top of it as long as you live in Florida. I don't know how many of you plan on staying in Florida for a long time. Most of these tactics are going to work in other states with their legislators too, though. Stay on top of it. Keep on top of it. Democracy requires work. You don't just go vote for someone and then they're going to do whatever you want them to do. You got to hold their feet to the fire every day. Stay on top of them. Constant public pressure, because they can't ignore an issue that doesn't go away. Stay on top of it. There is a woman, I see her in the halls of the legislature every session. When I go down to lobby for energy issues or for gay rights or anti-death penalty stuff, I see her every session. She is fighting to get our legislature to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment. She's there every year. She's been fighting this fight for decades. We've got a fighting chance this year of the ERA passing, because people like her have been doing this. Stay on top, never give up. And political power comes from two sources. Money. Who here's got a lot of money? Raise your hand. And the ability to mobilize voters. Who here's got the ability to mobilize voters? Everybody raise your hand. You all have the ability to mobilize voters. On political campaigns, one of the things that we talk about is every 14 doors that you knock for a candidate gets one new vote for that candidate. Anyone here ever have a field organizer or a politician ask them to canvass? Yeah, I know Ron has. I've made this man canvass more than anyone anyone I know. Every 14 doors that you knock equals a new vote for your candidate. Every 100 phone calls that you make doing a phone bank equals a new vote for your candidate. Everyone in this room has the ability to mobilize voters. So when your legislator, let them know you've got that ability. Let them know, yeah, you know what? I don't know if we agree necessarily on this, but I could be volunteering for your campaign if you run for re-election. Or, you know, I might be volunteering for your opposition. Let them know. And last but not least, just a few resources. The Citizen Works tool for democracy, that disappeared for some reason. I will post it on the Facebook page for this event. It's a great list of resources for this.
I think it's just like blue.
Pardon?
Like it's just hard to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll post it on the Facebook page so everyone can. It's a great set of resources. This is the actual Florida Legislature rules and regulations for more specifics. This is kind of a crash course with a little etiquette and a little bit of stuff. There is a whole lot of more specific stuff that we can't really get into in this short of time, but really the state of Florida does a bang-up job with their website and with information about the process. When it is that things are in committee, when it is that there's public input for committees. You want your public input when something's in committee. You want to put on that tie and go in there and wait in line for an hour and a half and step up to that microphone and say, my name is Brian Lee and I live at 1603 Saul Street and I am very much in favor of these solar cells being put on the east dome of the Capitol. There's the Community Organizers Toolbox, also very good, and there's my email address at the bottom if anyone at all wants to email me any questions about any of this, then feel free. I will be happy to answer any of your questions by email. And that's the end of the presentation part of the presentation. So, thank you. So does anybody have any out loud questions?
Yeah, you call, I'm not trying to be, call them servants. Do they have to take our envelopes and we like see them? Like you can say, here's our idea and our plan, they have to take that?
They will.
They will?
They will.
Okay.
They will. Type it up nice. Make it pretty. Make it look official. Don't write it in crayon. But yeah, they will. I don't know if they have to. But I don't know if they have to.
It's like in their job description, if somebody has a plan and it's written out, you need to take it, or have one of your secretaries take it.
But they will. They will. I have never, ever, ever, ever once handed a legislator or a legislative aide an envelope with information in it and have them go. And I have spoken to legislators that would not shake my hand. I went, I did some citizen lobbying for the right for gay people to adopt, and I went to a very, very, very religious conservative state senator who was horrified at the idea that gay people should exist, much less parent children. And I went in and spoke in favor of allowing gay people to adopt and made my case and left the information and went to shake Senator Sobel's hand, and she did one of these.
Awkward.
So, yes, sir.
When corporations lobby politicians, do they do it the same way, or how does it work for them?
They do it the same way with money. They have money on their side. They contribute money to campaign. This is something you can do too, if you have money. If you don't have money, then you can't. Sorry. But they contribute money to candidates. You cannot contribute money to someone in office who is running for office during legislative session. That is illegal. That is one of the few things that is illegal as far as giving money to politicians. Just about any other circumstance, you can give them large monopoly-like bags of money with dollar signs printed on them at any time that you want. But during actual session, you can't give them money. But yes, this is what actual paid lobbyists do. They have certain advantages. For instance, they've given money to the person. So when they call up and say, I'd like an appointment with Senator, let's say Sobel, on a anti-gay adoption bill, then they'll remember the name and they'll say, yes, we can get you in tomorrow. We can get you in right away. When you call and ask for an appointment, chances are you won't get in tomorrow right away and you'll talk to an aide. That's the way it is.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's just that, I just wanted to add that, you know, the reality is I don't have a lot of money. I'm running a nonprofit and I don't get paid to run the nonprofit, right? So I do, though, participate in the election process. I get out there, I'm doing that canvassing, and I donate a little bit of money usually, because I do have a little bit of money, which might be you guys in a few years, right? So, and that, plus my being knowledgeable, has really gotten me to the point where, you know, the different people who represent me call me and say, hey, I've got this idea, can I talk to you about it? So we talk, you know, and I mean, we have good people representing us, so that helps. But when we talk about corporations versus the citizen lobbying, it really does work to build that relationship. And you know, to the point where I feel like I have as much power as some of these corporations that can donate a lot of money, because they know that I have people behind me and that I will help influence votes.
I've donated less than $200 lifetime to political candidates and have 12 elected officials on speed dial, because they know I know how to move votes. They know that if I want people voting for something, I'm willing to go out and knock those doors and get them voting for it. So, yeah.
Is it more effective to go in as a single person making a point and, you know, talking to your legislature, or go in as a group?
It's more effective as a group. It's not ineffective